Today we're going to be creating a 3D foil sculpture inspired by our human figure drawings that we just did. So you're going to get a piece of foil, and we need to do two measurements today. I want you to start with a measurement that is from the top of the foil. You're going to find the center point, and you're going to put your ruler in that center point. And then I want you to notice how our ruler doesn't have a 0 on the end, but we know that the end of a ruler is 0. So we want that 0 to start on the end. And we're going to measure 5.5 inches. Put that ruler in the middle. I'm going to use my permanent marker, not a pencil, so it doesn't cut the foil, and I'm going to draw all the way down to 5, and then I need to go halfway to 5.5. Okay, and then I'm going to turn this foil over, or upside down. I still have that middle point here. Now I need to find, like, this is its own section. I need to find the middle of this section at the top. So I'm looking at this section. The middle is probably right about here. I'm going to lay that ruler down again, put that 0 on the end, and now I need 4.5 inches. So I'm going to draw a line to 4 and go halfway to 5. Same thing needs to happen in this side of the section. So we're going to draw a line that's 4.5 inches, but it needs to be in the middle of this section over here. So let's see, 4.5. All right, now that you've drawn those 3 lines, you're ready to cut them out. You're just going to cut right on the line that you created. And this is how we're going to start making our human figure. All right, that one line, the long 5.5 inch one, that needs to be at the bottom. And then we're going to squeeze together the center of this foil to make the waist of our human. So we're squeezing together that middle part, and you should have a 5-point person right now. We've got 2 legs, 2 arms, and 1 head. So I want to start turning these bottom ones into legs. I'm going to start squeezing them together, turning them into a cylinder. Foil is very easily squished or compressed. I want you to think, though, about how hard you're compressing it, because the harder you compress it, the skinnier or smaller your figure will be. These are the arms. We're going to compress the arms, same way we did the legs. All I'm doing is sticking my hand around it and just squeezing it. Same thing on this arm. Compressing that arm. And then the last part is my head. And this, instead of compressing, I want to turn into a ball. So I need to compress, but all the way around. I don't need to just have one motion at the same time. Keep twisting it around, turning it, until you can turn this into a ball for the head. All right, so once you've got everything compressed, now is the time when you get to play with it, and you try to figure out, what is this figure doing? Is it standing? Is it sitting? Is it running? Let's see. Is it dabbing? You get to decide what your figure is doing. If you decide that maybe the arms are too long, fold in part of it to make it a little shorter, or you could always cut off a little bit extra. You could bend up some feet if your figure is standing. So you're going to play with this figure until you've figured out exactly what you want it to be doing. And then once you've figured that out, the next step is going to be using plaster craft to finalize it. So here's what I mean. Plaster craft is what you use for a broken bone. All right, so we'll take some plaster craft. It's plaster, which is like a hard glue, but it's dry right now, and you have to activate it with water. So we dip it into the water bucket, and we drag it along the edge of the water bucket. And you're going to take this plaster craft, and you're going to wrap it around the figure. I like to lay it on at an angle so that I'm not just wrapping it constantly around itself, but it's kind of spiraling up the limbs. Once you lay it on, then you're taking your fingers and you're rubbing it in, because it has all those holes in it, And when you activate it with water, that dry glue gets wet, and then you're able to move it around, and you want to fill in those holes. So as you can see, this is going to take a little while because we need to cover up the whole figure. So I'm laying it on kind of at an angle, and I'm wrapping it around. That tail needs to be attached first, and then wrapping it around and smoothing it out with my fingers. If this happens and you're bumping it and it falls off, just take it, put it back on. This stuff is easy to use because it doesn't dry for a while, so you can continue to move it and mold it. Now, you do need to have your idea figured out for what your figure is going to be doing, so that when this dries, you're not going to be able to move it anymore. So you definitely want today, like right now, I can leave it like this, but as soon as all this plaster craft, as soon as I'm finished with it, I need to make sure all my limbs are in the correct place, because when you come back tomorrow, this figure will be hard as a rock, like a cast, and you will not be able to move it. So continue to cover up all your foil today, overlapping pieces, wrapping around the body so that you cover up each part of your figure.